I'm the president of the Alabama State Poetry Society. If you are interested in getting involved, find us on Facebook, get involved, come and learn, come be a part of it, come share your work. A lot of you are extremely talented, and everybody who is in this room is a writer, whether or not they call themselves that. So I think it takes... I started writing late, and I started writing when I was 35, and I stopped nursing, and all that oxytocin stopped coming at me, and I looked around at the world, and I was like, whoa, what is wrong with this place? And I was like, I've got to tell someone, and no one wants to listen. All my friends want to talk about, their hair, about their latest diet, exercise regimen, about, something, and I'm like, the world. So I started writing, and I love it. And I've always written, but this is my first collection that came out recently. It's called Stories to Read Aloud to Your Fetus. And it's not really stories to read aloud to your fetus. But I always love it when people buy a copy. I don't want you to buy one if you don't have money. It means the world, of course, to poets. It was published by a great press in Kentucky, and I'm very grateful to them. And I'm going to start with probably a poem from that. Or a couple of poems from this. Which one did I say I was going to start with? I had a plan. Okay. This is called Before the Demographics of Me Married. I was ambitious, workhorse-driven, singular mother who managed nonprofit programs and discretionary funds. I was free as a towhee, trolling suburban birdhouses for brunch. I co-slept most nights, sex being the stand-alone condition. Sex being complicated by the traditional bonds of the Romanian nanny who memorized the blur of your knock's radiant knuckle, crossed herself against the shuffle of single male feet. Nanny mumbled prayers for my salvation, begged God for a spouse to solve me, as Alabama Baptists prayed for my salvation back home. Both Baptist and Romanian Orthodox choirs united in fear of a female's disgrace, lording words against the things I did single-handed. I wore the same scuffed jeans, recited Seussism, pantomimed alphabet rhymes, driven mad with love for a baby son whose nails I bit to keep from cutting. I paid the piper, and the Montessori lady, and the Orthodox priest to weave his black cassock of beard and incense into holy shields. To prove flimsy tin can talk. The nanny needed to know we were safe from the sins of prior residents. The priest smiled, said he preferred cash. I paid, and paid thousands that your hands might steal nights to steady these restless hips. Inflate these lips with the rub, rub, rub of beard-side stubble. I paid little, given big picture and savings. Other nights I rented out. Let my head fall over the edge of the mattress, fury of flesh on this tongue, demographics of those single minutes, my frenzy, their prayers, tangling with demons, and each gleaming ounce of this body possessed.
Yeah.
So, that's actually to my husband. Because, yeah, this is me idealizing a very brief period of my life when I was a single mother, and I was having a great time until I was never going to get married. I was never going to be owned by any man, and then I fell in love and got married and all that. Yeah, but he, I can write about him, and he can't do anything about that. So the book is basically about this gray space that involves a woman's body. There's this thing that's called a womb, and sometimes babies are created in it, fetuses specifically, and everybody has an opinion about the fetus, and we women have to make choices about what we're going to do with our lives and our futures. And no matter what we choose, there's always a thought about that in there. Nobody talks about how a woman feels when she decides to get an abortion. Nobody talks about how that's not what she laid in bed dreaming when she was 15 and stared at her neon plastic stars on the ceiling. She wasn't like, oh, I hope that I get knocked up by a real ass and have to get an abortion. You know, that's not anybody's dream, but that is a lot of women's reality all over the world. And I wrote this book, actually put it together in December of 2016 after the election. Some of this stuff had been written before, but it was a very shocking experience for me. I wasn't born here. I wasn't born here, y'all, but I got here as fast as I could. I was born in Romania, which is across the sea. So I'm one of those immigrants your parents warned you about, or whatever. My mom was pregnant with my sister when they defected, when they ran from communism to come here. So we are literally, you know, those bad people. But I care deeply about this country. I care deeply about what it represents. And what it's supposed to represent, and what it needs to represent. And so I take patriotism as involving protest as well as holding, you know, there are many ways to fight for your country, I think. Many, many ways. And we should acknowledge those ways too. So yeah, this is kind of born out of real concern for my daughters in a world that is changing. This poem is called I Do Not Think We Should Use Words Like Meadow Anymore. There is a meadow across from our subdivision which does not belong to anyone. There are no lawnmowers on this meadow where a coterie of crows conduct their general assembly each morning. There is a four-way stop sign, but the stop looks ashamed, and some say there is a ghost that haunts the meadow, and what the stop sign feels is akin to dread. There is a crow whom the other crows call around, and he is likely the lead crow. Likely, his name is Frank. There are parents who will not let their children play in the meadow because it is full of weeds and buttercups and fire ant mounds. The parents want someone to own the meadow and develop it. There are many ways to say develop without meaning to, but there are no ways to say development that do not involve the destruction of something else. There is a child developing their interpersonal skills, which means she learns to stop imagining the crows conversing in the meadow. The child will develop beyond freeze tag, and when she has developed appropriately, this child part will be dead. There is a distinct tinge of ache she will feel when passing the meadow, but the pain will be located in a phantom limb. There is no way to discuss the pain we feel in parts of us that don't exist anymore. There is a meadow, and crows and fire ants. There is a place waiting to die. There will be cupcakes and ribbon-cutting ceremonies. There are people who will call the cupcakes an improvement. You guys read such incredible, very strong political voices. And this is kind of a political book, so I'm not reading as many of those poems, but it's about what it's like to be an immigrant growing up in Alabama, where you write the speech for your next door neighbor that wins her the DAR award for best speech, but you can't even attend her ceremony. And she goes on to become the youth director of DAR in DC while you're in DC working in nonprofits too. And it's really fun and exciting, but you kind of think it's strange how you wrote the words. Anyway. This is called I Could Not Explain the Abortion Without Referencing Smaller Things, and it was nominated for a Pushcart Prize by Cloudbank Books. Yeah, and that's exciting and scary. I could not explain the abortion without referencing smaller things. A dock over a lake, a glimpse of water between links of wood, a question about repairs, an absence of particular planks, an ambiguous answer eluding relationships, a motorboat partying past. Remember that time when? A thick, turtleneck, sad feeling, an overcoat feeling, a sense of incongruity between overcoat and summer sunshine on bare feet. A fisherman along the bank looking drunk, a drunk that is ambition, a drunk you discovered in high school, a drunker than thou, righteousness. A minnow near the pier, a dock you think is special, a dorkiness remaining ambiguous, a shoulder slouching, a pebble sunk, a plop. A word about water, another plop. A series of plops like points on a map, a hand trying to hold it, a hand trying to hold you, a hand trying to hold your hand, a tense abdominal muscle, a growl from within a bar, a box which resembles a person, a mirror image in the lake, a hand raised, a silhouette, a third-grade portrait project, a shadow puppet, a picture of avoidance, a solid sound, a drunk fisherman, maybe someone's father. A father who is missing, a father finding himself in a picture on the bulletin board, a picture drawn to make the father happy. A happy family sounds like silence. A car on the radio, a special bomb made in Huntsville, a humane weapon, a way to kill people scientifically, a pest control truck, another hand on your wrist, a beer passed across the tarp, a penis, a kiss, an unordered lexicon, a begging noise, a knee, a dock over a lake. A boy who uses poetry to solve things, a poem that is bird shit on the plank, a found object, a lost feather, a lisp taken out of context, a lollipop wrapper crinkling into a skirt. A clarification, a cleared throat, an unclear exchange, a combination of clarity and obfuscation, a class you took together, a dragonfly speaking to a sneaker, a subordinate clause, a space between coats in a closet, a word connoting air freshener, a stick of peppermint gum, a dry mouth, a kiss you mistake for a hand, a way of looking at you which rumbles, a motorboat you missed, a boy who keeps waiting, a promise you exchanged for peace, a time when you promised, a time that tasted multilateral, a loss you discovered in high school, a thief who loves you, a thief who loves you, a thief who loves you, throwing rocks in the lake, a plop.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was really, this is much more intense than my first poetry book, which is much nicer. It's a little, and I'm really grateful to the artist, Sarah Shields, nor that sticker, but she drew a picture that was kind of, I thought, really represented the book. Trucks Kids Count, which has the epigraph by Tracy Brimhall, "The thunder is the sermon and not the truth." We play fatalistic games which leave us no choice. I don't want to play anymore. We decide to drive. Tender words grumble like empty stomachs. A child who is truly starving lacks the reality of saying so. Trucks. Tender words grumble and rumble into freight trucks on long black highways. Trucks carry precious cargo. A car goes vroom. Rest stops flock with tingly-legged travelers running from trucks and running into them. There is nowhere to run without trucks. No resting, absent, tender family words. An elderly man in a non-union baseball cap says, "My husband would not like what I'm doing." A baby nursing my breast on the bench. A husband taking his time in the bathroom. A lonely old man saying, "Those things are for your husband." Those things must be my breasts. One must not be possessive about objects. A lonely man forgets what he learned as a toddler. A husband emerges with fresh-washed hands. A curmudgeon asks if this thing is acceptable. A thing includes the breasts as well as the nursing. A breast is a thing at all times, no matter what its form. A husband says it's cheaper than formula. The old man smiles. A good bargain is a thingamabob he gets. I'm not going to read one called Yellow Mama, because I think you guys have covered those spaces very, very well. I'm looking for one in particular. It's really sad. Someone give me a page number.
12.
12. Okay. 12 and 9. Okay. Our first Easter. This is a little bit more narrative. So there's a lot of different voices in this, and this is not, obviously, there's a lot of different voices, some of which are not mine, some of which kind of are. I stare at the purple dress and try to erase the thought of you in the closet, wearing that funky Jerry Garcia tie. It was Easter, and after church. You had been home for 2 weeks and eager to touch the familiar hymnals. You sang songs, but kept silent about Iraq. Anything I needed to know was featured on the cable news, you said. But those people are paid to say things from an official, far-off perspective, and I want to know what it was like for you. I'm no anchor, you said. The skin near your ears was a muddy brown, a dirt sunk deep in the pores, immune to washcloths. Oh, let Daddy hold the baby, nice church women warbled. I laid the baby in the crook of your elbow. It was swaddled in light blue and purple, resembling a plastic egg. Children hunted eggs in the church basement with baskets dangling from forearms. The baby stared up at you in its unknowing fashion. The purple dress stares back at me from the hanger. Your eyelids fluttered above the baby like soft helicopter blades churning a lullaby from air and motion. Then the baby went off. The baby began wahing. Wah, wah, wah. The baby sirened louder when you dropped it. I tinted its wail with sequins of kisses, bright glittering lip marks pressed against its forehead and cheeks, my voice shrill as a party. Wasn't it Easter? Our first holiday as a family? Confetti flew from my vocal cords to celebrate. You rocked back and forth in the pew and swore you didn't mean to hurt it. Why would you hurt a baby? Why wouldn't the baby stop crying? How could it happen with nothing to stop it? Shh, I smothered. Shh. I mothered you both. I'm no anchor, you swore. When I found you in the closet hanging from the metal rod, your tie straightened towards the ceiling as an underwater rope reaches for the surface. Your body heavy, iced, anchor-like. And my hands ruined the hem of that purple dress, the one I could never wear again, still hanging in the closet. How much more time do I have?
Plenty.
Really? Okay. Give me another number. I like that.
32?
Then I don't have to think. I overthink things a lot.
Most of us do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
40.
But I don't know what y'all, oh, 32 is an epigraph.
No.
Yeah.
42.
42. Okay, inventory for good relationships. This is about being a mother, having a son and 2 daughters. You sort of get real aware of gender socialization and, you know, the whole double X, which you also see in like a red light district, but it's also female double X if you're looking at the binary, becomes, I'll just put it this way, it's pretty intense to have daughters and to suddenly kind of wake up and look at the way the world treats them differently than it treats him. Inventory for good relationships. There is nail polish, a curling iron, this lycra-looking bandage intended to enhance waistlines, an egg-dyed kit, an IUD, anal beads I bought in Brooklyn, a vase filled with gladiolas. There's a grocery list on the fridge and his favorite beer at the top. There is a mold, surgical uplift of the sagging breasts. There is a winning smile and white as teeth wedding dress. There is a special shade of red lipstick that makes the white brighter. There's a technique for improving his orgasm, which involves sustained digital contact with Eine Kleine Chode. There is a giggle I've got down pat, and a cluster bomb of sports stats committed to memory. There is the special 900 kilowatt mascara that windows my eyes a little more when it looks like he's craving innocence. There is a cat I pet when the man appears bored. There is the fact that he is perpetually bored and needy to be watching something. There is a sill-side sorrow snapped shut. There is a valiant zipper on a change purse. There are so many ways to keep a man, but not one that doesn't require self-mutilation. All this keeping is surgical at heart. The last time I thought about this was in a park where I was holding his favorite green kite, and I was flying that kite for him so he could chug a beer on the blanket, when suddenly an elder folk jogged past in night glow spandex, and I wondered what would happen if I let it go just like that. I didn't wonder what he would do, see? I wondered what would happen.
Yeah.
I promise I would read from this tonight because I don't normally, I'm going to fight with the microphone. I've been really bad about reading from collection. Like once you get a book published, you're kind of like, oh, but I'm done. There's something else going on now. And so you kind of are really mean to them. And I've promised stories I would be nicer than I was to the other one, which I kind of didn't read at readings, and so I'm trying to be nice to her. It. Number, anything?
28.
28. I'm staying in the low numbers. I think that's an epigraph. There's a lot of epigraphs.
25.
25. Well, then 28. Take that one. 25 is part of another one. Girls,
40.
huh?
46.
46. Virginia, I will look for it. Oh, that's a sad one.
Why not?
That's
It's
okay.
really sad.
We have a lot of feelings.
You don't want me to read the ones I can't really read when my kids are around? 'Cause that's kind of, The kids, they've been to lots of poetry readings and they sit in the back and they color. But it's a little awkward with this book. And it's awkward writing about abortion as a mother, because one of the things and one of the reasons there's so much shame around the womb, including whether you have a miscarriage, whether you have an abortion, whether you are pregnant. There's a lot of shame and a lot of ways in which you don't own your own womb, and that space of your body is violated. Someone's expecting you to have a child. You're 40. What do you... Grandchildren, right? As females, I think that that's a space that we are very... we grow up not really feeling like it belongs entirely to us. And so, in fact, there's the fact that there's so many surgeries that involve changing that part of the body for women is another indication. There's not really that many men going in getting their penises fixed. There's a huge rise in surgeries, women going to get a model vagina. Okay, I'm not even sure what that means, but apparently it's in high demand in Birmingham. And whatever. So yeah. I'm definitely responding a little bit to that. I don't have to have those conversations with my son to explain to him why his is okay the way it is. I guess maybe circumcision could be, yeah. If he wants to do that, he will. I didn't feel like that was my place. So I'm going to do girl watching patriots build a wall. The wall will protect us from those who came here outside the law, those that choose not to be legal, those who imagine they've been given a choice. A law does not lie equal across a flat plain. This land is our land, is not a prairie. Horizon is a view and not a point of access. A girl pokes 2 fingers through steel ovals. Metal fence is not enough to keep her out of sight, out of mind. A hand is an encroachment. If power is a line drawn across a field to obligate others, I tell the builder, this is my body, he cannot touch. Noli me tanger and then some. He touches so much to construct that wall from earplugs, countless cloud peg iotas. Clunk, clunk, whispers the heart, beating along the floor like a wooden prosthesis. Clunk, clunk, metal key. They have locked us into a world made safe by threats. There is not enough orange in the sunset's filthy lucre to survive a fiddler's song. If you want to read a good online journal or submit to it, they accept flash and poetry. Why I like complicated positions. I prefer complicated positions in cramped spaces for sex. Sudden attempts at eye contact make face-to-face fucks uncomfortable given the fleetingness of efforts connecting feelings to specific nerve endings. Which synapse gets fired? I don't wonder what he's thinking unless he shoves his eyes into mine, intrusive as a couple's selfie. A man's gaze is rarely more gentle than his member. He wants something substantial with those fries. Would I prefer a rear-facing position every time? Generalization is insufficient. A formula comforts, but comfort is the petri dish of boredom. The quantity of comfortable bored folks is clinical. Statistics reveal clusters of comfort coincide with stadium fulls of unhappy, screaming Americans. The price of comfort is watching a game we're too comfortable to play. Ask me a better question. Ask me why spooning sucks, given my aversion to eye contact. I'll tell you there's nothing as exhilarating as staring long, hard, and deep into his eyes after the thrashing about ceases. I can almost count micrograms of blood rushing back into his biceps and legs, the blood leaving his face, the tender prom portrait flush, the things he would say if he weren't such a verbally diminished creature. Ask me why he gets nervous if I get up to go into the kitchen. Ask me why he likes to have his eyebrows kissed, the hair on his back scratched and tumbled like pizza. Ask me why he looks up from between my legs like a little leaguer who wants you to clap whether he hits the ball or misses. It's not about the ball, y'all. Please admit this corruption. It has never been about the balls or the bases or the team rankings. Only crowds of tired adults rising in metal bleachers to cheer our boy for whatever he's done. Or not done. Same difference. Our boy peers up from my thighs, and he believes the applause is coming. Sure as shooting stars and men on the moon and theater popcorn, he has earned the roar. Needless to mention his entitlement to the performance of my organs. The pat on the back. He is, after all, the best boy ever. World's greatest grinner. Daddy's little buddy. Mommy's sugar. The cream inside a local bakery's fresh-baked puff. Oh, I'm supposed to tell y'all how much the book is. So, this is $19.99 or $20. And these Objects and Vases, which is published by a great press in Baton Rouge, is, I think it was originally like, I don't know, I think it was like 10 or something, but since it's last year, it's 5, and you get a, like, there's a poem called Pedagogy in Response to Rumble, on a little, what are these called?
Broadside.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, broadside. You can have a broadside anyway. I mean, you don't have to pay for a broadside. I'm just going to put them there. And then this one was 5, and so now it's $2.50. It's a micro chap by the same press. Okay, I think I'm going to read. Sorry, they're so dark. Huh? Just I don't know. Me is so many different things. I write so I can be lots of different people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So do we.
Yeah. This is to you whom I fail. To you whom I fail. I will say things which sink into a hole behind the green metal tool shed. I will say these things, and you will disbelieve, which is to say that I will fail you in unfinished ways. If I could be a fundamentalist about text and revelation, to be literal is to demand a name for things. A label shimmies like a shoehorn faced with any old heel. The shoehorn does not care who's callous. It cannot acknowledge the existence of non-heels. Anything in the world that is not a heel is nothing. A stone skips across the lip of a lake, and I fail you with my maybes. You who discount the existence of that which cannot be named. I fail you with my longings, my dolors and dithyrambs, mystery riding tongue non-stop. My splendid misunderstandings. Silly girl, you harlot for twinkle twinkle. You moon for tiny stars. Cancer can swallow mothers younger than you, and it does. These are facts. What will you make of the evidence? Fail them all. Let the tongue of the mother cat groom you. Let the stars stitch you to sleep. Thank you so much.